I'm departing the Northern Territory today. It's been a marvelous trip, but before I get on my way, a brief jaunt up this hillside with some thoughts to convey, communing with the falcon, lord of all she surveys, wheeling on invisible thermal signals in high echelons, tracking her prey high in the sphere of the sky above these ridges, this palisade. Any part of this topographical art is like a looking glass, and what reflects back is your face. I'm here in Alice Springs. After the desert trek, the refreshment that Alice brings is a salve for the pains, but in the gaps of the frames behind the wonderland, we can glimpse the reality of plundered land and Alice in chains, and all across the plains of the Northern Territory, the implications of this Australia project are continuing to sink in. In case anyone listening was thinking that this whole colonization process was like a long time ago, man, it's not linked with the present, then it's worth recalling 2007, when both left and right wings of the Australian mainstream threw up their hands in a collective, "Won't someone please think of the children?" They drafted a Trojan horse report called "Children are Sacred." What then followed was yet another military invasion, with Australian troops sent into Aboriginal communities to police behaviours like alcoholism, pornography, child abuse, inappropriate welfare spending. Coincidentally, all phenomena brought by the European settlement. So what they really meant by "think of the children" was, let's enter here and interfere with no consultation and treat them like children. And this invasion was known as the Northern Territory Intervention. It had the ostensible goal of closing the gap existing between we, the immigrant majority, and the minority Aboriginal populations, to educate them, teach them English, change their way of living, reform them, basically get the Aboriginals to conform, finally fit in, stop embarrassing us by being victims, and give up this outdated notion of being Aboriginal. Assimilation. And since we're still in this, there's some statistics we have to mention. For instance, in the Northern Territory, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples make up 86% of the adult prisoner population and 96.9% of young people in detention. Incarceration rates are up 41% since the commencing of the intervention. But one thing that was achieved was to make it an awful lot easier for the federal government and corporations to force through 99-year leases for grabbing the land and the resources beneath it. See, since invasion, one thing lets you know how little we invaders thought of this land and how precious it ever was. And that is just how willing we seem to be to just sell it off. And if you cast your mind back to the late 60s, you can see a prime example of that, because that's when the Australian government signed a pact with the USA to build this base behind me, Pine Gap. Those very spheres that you can see are designed to trap all global communications in the Eastern Hemisphere, analyze them, decrypt them, and send anything interesting down the line back to the CIA for many reasons, including straight-up surveillance, keeping a tight track on the conversations everyone's having, in case the populace might snap, want to fight back, and there may need to be global interventions against insurrections to hold the tide back. But one major reason to get these communications down the line stat is for imperial forces there to utilize them to track any undesirables they can find on the map, feed the coordinates to their own marksmen, and use those stats to call in hawks, hellfire assassin ordnance, and drone targeting. So from this very location here, the true vicious purpose is to be able to send flying robots overseas to carry out extrajudicial murders, with inevitable collateral death when the missiles clap, including children of the families caught in the crossfires and sights. Brah! I guess those children aren't as sacred as the ones we legislate to keep locked tight in prisons and iron shacks. And these illegal, murderous drone actions and surveillance of all your private chat, that's just the part we know about Pine Gap. There's so much secrecy surrounding it that into the mind gap come all sorts of conspiracy theories about subterranean levels where UFOs lie trapped, that it's a base for the greys to conspire with the lizards and hold us back. But in actual fact, there's no need for greys and Anunnaki to load this trap. We do it to ourselves and our colonial victims by dint of apathy while rolling ever deeper into this cul-de-sac. But whether it's our blissful ignorance of original culture or this Five Eyes echelon base whose domes refract, it's within our own soul and psyche where we actually need to close the gap.